Hey there YouTube, my name is Brian Henney, and this is the first video I'm putting onto my personal channel here. So I just wanted to make this video giving a bit of a background of myself and what types of videos I plan on putting onto my personal channel. And so yeah, my name is Brian Henney, like I said. I'm 22 years old. I live in a small town in south central Pennsylvania, right near Gettysburg. I think most people should at least know what Gettysburg is or have heard of it. So that's a bit of an indicator of where I'm around. It's right near we're right near the Mason-Dixon line, so the border with Maryland. Maryland's kind of like my second home state, I guess. Um, Actually, was born in Maryland. So yeah, I mean, like I said, born in Maryland, Howard County Hospital in 1993, and yeah, so lived in Catonsville, Maryland for a few years until I guess it was around the time that my parents got divorced. We moved up here to the small town of Littlestown, Pennsylvania, ironically named not because it's small, but ironically it is very small. We have, I believe, about 4,000 people, so it's kind of funny, but ironic that small town named Littlestown. Um, yeah, we're not a one stoplight town anymore, but we were until 2013, until we got a second stoplight. We're moving up in the world. It's pretty exciting stuff. Got two stoplights here now, you know. But it's so yeah, I guess the most interesting thing is really I don't know exactly how to get into this, but biggest part of my life, my background would be that when I was 6 months old, I was diagnosed with bilateral retinoblastoma, which is cancer of the retina. Bilateral means it's in both eyes. So I was diagnosed with that at 6 months. My mom noticed there was something wrong with my eyes. She could see the tumors, but she didn't know there were tumors. She could just see there was something wrong. Took me to the doctor. They suggested that it might be a lazy eye, and my mom did not believe that because of she didn't think that made sense based on what she saw. It didn't look like a lazy eye. She could see that there was something more to it than that. So she took me to a different doctor. Luckily, because it was obviously not a lazy eye. Like I said, it was retinoblastoma. They suggested that I go to Johns Hopkins, to a doctor at Johns Hopkins who diagnosed me with retinoblastoma. It was sporadic. I got it from birth, but it was not genetic. So neither of my parents had anything wrong with their eyes, anything like that. There was no reason. There's no reason to believe it came from them. So it wasn't genetic. It was just kind of like sporadic. It was random. The problem with my 13th chromosome. So it was just kind of. I mean, it was a problem with my genes, but it wasn't hereditary. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure exactly where it came from or anything, but that's what it was. So I dealt with that for the first. Well, I mean, I had it for 4 years. Would go through mainly chemotherapy was the main treatment that I had for the first 3 years that I had it, and I would go through remission, but then it would always come back for all that 3 years, and then eventually, as I said, my parents got divorced, but they were still both having to deal with this, even though they were divorced. When I was 3 years old, my dad found out about a treatment called proton radiation, which there's a standard treatment that they used at the time was just standard radiation, which usually worked to get rid of the cancer, but it also led to things, long-term effects like secondary cancers. I would most likely have had a secondary cancer to this point in my life. Had I gone with standard radiation, I would also most likely be blind. So there's a number of long-term effects that go along with that. They would rather go with something else. So my dad found out about this proton radiation, uh, which was just basically, it was similar, but it was more. It used protons to focus the radiation, so they could focus it on the cancer cells instead of affecting everything in that area that they were radiating. because obviously radiation is not good for your body. So yeah, but the problem with that was it was not a common treatment at the time. This was back in around '96, I think. Um, there were only actually two places in America that had the capability of using proton radiation. One was in Boston, the other was in at Loma Linda Children's Hospital in California. The one in Boston is closer, so we wanted to get to that one, but they wouldn't take me because it was a bit of a prototype. They had never really used it for my type of cancer. But luckily, Loma Linda Children's Hospital in California was willing to let us try that treatment, and we did. I was out there in California for about 6 months. My dad came out there with me, took me out there and everything, was with me for the first 3 months. Then he came back and my mom went out and was with me the latter 3 months out there. And so that whole time I was going through the proton radiation treatment, and it worked. Fortunately, we weren't sure if it would work in the long run because they didn't really have much evidence to support to say what the long-term effects were because it wasn't really used. And the treatment of the proton radiation treatment in any cases wasn't a very old treatment. I think the first time they really ever used it, I think, was in like 1990. So they didn't really have much to go off of with that. But so it worked at the time. I was about 4 years old, came back home and everything. My doctor believed, based on comparing it to regular radiation, that if I didn't get anything back by the time I was 5, I should be fine. So I was in remission. I made it past 5, didn't get it back. So everything seemed to be in the clear. But then I was 7 years old, and it was, I think, 2 weeks after my younger sister was born. And I got it back, this time just in my left eye. So they didn't want to continue doing the chemotherapy because there's a certain point where if you continue to keep using chemotherapy, it can get much more risky, and they don't want to have you keep using chemotherapy after a certain point. And I had 3 years early on in my life where I was going through chemotherapy a lot. So they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to risk it, especially since it was only in my left eye. And I hardly had any vision in my left eye anyway. I couldn't really see out of it. So they removed my left eye. That was when I was 7 years old. So I have this is here. This is that's a prosthetic eye. It's not a real eye. So, I don't have that eye. I don't have vision on this side anywhere. So my vision's not very good in my right eye. I also have glaucoma, which I got from the treatments from when I was younger, caused glaucoma in my right eye, and my vision's not very good. I am considered legally blind, but I do have vision in my right eye. So yeah, I guess that's basically the treatments I went through for that. That's a major part of my life, definitely the biggest part of my life, and it's something I just had to deal with. And while it might sound like a tough thing to deal with, and it has been, and it was when I had it, it is a little bit of a nicer thing to have it when you're really young, though. The plus side with that is I don't remember a lot of it. So this is kind of like what I've dealt with my vision and everything is I'm so used to it. So I haven't had my left eye for 15 years now, and I've been dealing with this type of stuff for over 20 years, my entire life. So it's something that I'm used to, which I do think makes it a bit easier to deal with because I'm so used to it. It's caused it does affect about most things in my life. It makes it really tough, especially living here in a small town. We don't have public transportation. And I'm not exaggerating. I don't mean like we have a little bit of public transportation, but not enough. I mean like we don't have public transportation. So it makes it really tough because I can't drive because of my vision, obviously. So that's one thing that's been tough. It's been tough. School has been a bit tough. Yeah, I need a lot of accommodations that other people don't need. And, I've gotten magnifiers and extended time, things like that. Some people, I assume, jokingly say stuff like, "Oh, you're so lucky you get extra time, or you get this cool magnifier device or something," which I assume people are joking about that. I think so. It's all that's all fine. Obviously, I'm not actually lucky for that because it's still a lot harder for me than regular people, even when I do get extended time for things. But it really made things harder going through school, high school especially. There was so much busy work in high school that we had to do, which I'll probably make a video ranting about the issues I see with uh, a number of things with the education system. That's one of them. All the busy work that's completely unnecessary. I know it certainly was for me. I learned the material well, did well in the tests. I didn't get great grades because of all the busy work that we had to do, which took me longer because of my vision. So, that was really unfortunate. That led to me having to drop out of high school in my senior year. I ended up getting my GED, passed that easily, didn't have to study for it or anything. I think it shows that, or at least I think it shows that I learned the material. I learned at least just as much as anyone else I went to high school with, and it's so I'll do a video ranting about that another time. But yeah, from there I went to a branch campus of Penn State University, and I was going for psychology. Decided to actually switch to an international relations major. International relations. Sorry about that. And I've been really into those sorts of things, politics, diplomacy, current events, all that sort of stuff, since probably about 10th grade. It was around 2009, 2010. So over 5 years, I've been really interested in that sort of thing. I recently have become more, I guess, personally involved in the political process. I have volunteered for the Bernie Sanders campaign. I feel the burn, so I'm sure a lot of other people do, especially here on the internet. Um, but yeah, so I've also been involved volunteering with a group called Wolfpack. I don't know if you guys don't know what that is. It's a group trying to work with state legislatures to get an amendment to the Constitution getting money out of politics. I think it's really important, so I've been trying to work with that, trying to get in contact with my state senator and schedule a meeting. It's been tough to schedule, but I've been working with that. That's another thing I've been doing lately, because right now I didn't say, but I'm taking a semester off from school, trying to decide exactly what I want to do with my future. It's a bit it can be tough, and other people know this. College is expensive. You take all that time and money, and it really makes it harder when you're not totally sure what you want to do. So it's been tough, but so right now I'm just trying to figure that all out. So yeah, I guess that's about what I'm doing now, what I've done recently, school, everything like that. I guess that's really most of my background. I'm interested in music. I did marching band in high school. I was in the drum line. I play guitar. I play a number of different instruments. Um, I'm interested in, like I said, politics, football. I watch football. I'm a Ravens fan. Because my family's all Ravens fans. I was born in Maryland, so they used to be Colts fans before when it was the Baltimore Colts. I'm a Penn State fan, obviously. Like I said, I went to Penn State, so I'm a Penn State fan in college football. That's mainly what I watch in sports. I don't really watch a lot of other sports, mainly football. So I'm going to do some videos about that sort of thing, as well as politics. That's what I was getting to with the second part of this, is different types of videos I'm going to be doing, mainly politics and current events. That's what I'm most interested in. But like I said, I'll do some stuff with sports, mainly football. The NFL draft coming up, I'm going to do some videos on that. With politics, also the election, different controversial issues I want to talk about, and explain some of it, some things that people might not understand fully. I'm gonna do another one like that soon. Also, things like gaming. I'm interested in video games. E3 coming up in June. I'm gonna do some videos on that. Uh, Reaction to the draft, to E3 stuff. Different current events, and then even some just random stuff that's going on, or random stuff that I just think about and want to make a video on, I guess. But also, if anyone has any suggestions of things I should look into, or comment below or tweet me at bfhenny. That's BFHENNE. Interested in other people's thoughts, and always interested in learning new things and getting interested in new things. So, you know, by all means, do that. So I guess that's pretty much just like a background of me and type of stuff I'm interested in, what I'm gonna do on this channel. So yeah, thanks for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.